this video, we're going to create a Craft CMS project. We're going to look at what is required. So we're going to look at the prerequisites, server requirements, and specs. We're going to install Craft via Composer, so we're not going to use any, we're not going to download it and stuff like that. We're just going to use the built-in PHP command tools. We're going to install Redactor. We're going to install AWS. And basically what we're going to do with AWS is use it for our S3 storage. We're going to create an entry as well as create a matrix block. We're going to create a category and we're going to install Neo. So let me just go to where I usually put the sites. And for here, you're going to need terminal. And you're going to have Composer installed. So you're going to at least have to have version 1.3.0 for Craft. That doesn't mean 1.3.0 for Craft because Composer isn't specific for Craft, obviously. But you're just going to have 1.3.0 or higher. So you install it with Composer, create project, Craft CMS / Craft, and then I'm just going to put it in Craft demo. So let's go ahead and do that. Now, the important thing is we need to create our database as well. So this is just going to download everything and you know, get your file package and stuff ready. However, we still need to create the database. So I'm just going to say yes. Are you ready to begin setup? MySQL, you can use Postgres, MySQL, you can also use MariaDB. This is local, 3306 is the port. That's fine for the username. Let me just punch in my password, database name. I'm just going to say Craft demo. Now, the prefix, I always say Craft and then an underscore. I did redo the database, and it connected to it fine. So install Craft. Let's just say yes. So username. I mean, you can have it whatever you want. Email. It's just installing the tables. If you have permission errors or permission issues, you're going to get an error. I've had that happen before once or twice, so it's just not uncommon. So it's almost done, and it is done. So let's go ahead and just gonna minimize that guy, and we can start going to, oh wait, hold on. Let me real quick, I am using Valet as the server, web server. So let me just go ahead and go into the folder, our root directory of wherever we serve this thing out. So there's Craft demo. So here it is, there's project files. Okay, so since I use Valet, I'm going to say Valet Park. So now what we just did is we told Valet, hey, you can serve files from this directory. So after that, I'm going to run Valet link as well. Just because that's how my setup is. Now, technically what we can do is we can go to craft demo.test and we should see a page. Boom, that's how fast and quick and easy this stuff is, guys. Now I didn't secure it down, so that I can just open up my terminal again. I could open up my project in here and do it that way, but I do like having a separate terminal open. So let's just go ahead and say Valet secure. And what that's going to do is that's going to issue a ticket. It's going to be, on my system, it's going to ask for a password. It's going to generate a new TLS certificate. And it does take a while to do. So, all right, good. It created the certificate. So now once we refresh, we're going to get all this stuff, and I'm just going to hit accept and continue, but we can see it's being served out of a secure URL, which is what we want. So here we have the files right here. Now, what is interesting is they've added in dev, production, and staging example env files. So the env file is going to be your environment file that you use. It's going to be a configuration file, basically, that you use across different environments. So dev is going to be different than staging. It could be the same, but most likely it'll be a little bit different. And then production will be different from staging as well. And they all should be different, especially if you're sending out emails. You don't want emails going to real clients or customers. So, dev and staging would have to be a little bit different for mail delivery. All right, so this tutorial isn't about that. So let's just get running here. So we've installed Craft via Composer. You've seen it was pretty easy. Now we're going to get set up into Craft and seeing what it really does here. So I'm going to hit the admin URL. Admin. Here's the password. So I'm just going to save it for right now. Let's see. All right, so this is the Craft dashboard. So you can actually do a lot of really cool stuff. You can do a quick post, which is this little widget right here. You can add in a feed. So you can, and this is where it gets pretty cool. You can punch in a URL and some titles, and then you can basically just it's an RSS feed is what it is. You can see the latest news on stuff. So that's pretty cool. Recent entries, that's this little widget right here. And you can also create your own widgets, which is really cool. That's probably for a different tutorial because we're going to be doing some back-end work on the CMS side. So let's go ahead and get started. Everything is in settings, so like at fields, things like that. Now I can't remember by default if Craft 4.0 or 4, Craft 4. This is a Craft 4 project, so it says Craft CMS. They're on 4.3.3. I'm not sure if they have a plugin called Redactor installed by default, but we're going to have to install it. It is probably pretty easy to find out. Used to be in plugins. Okay, so all right, so let's just go ahead and let's see what's available. So what I generally like to do is start searching. I do have a list of, and here it is right here. So I do have a list of plugins that I like to install. Just by default, that's what I use, and I'll go through and I'll show you guys what they are. So there's Redactor. Redactor is a rich text editor. Just so you can do, WYSIWYG HTML. That's the kind of stuff you can do. So let's install this guy. There's a couple ways you can install it. This is one of them right here. So you can do that. Or you can just use the front end way. So just install it via this way, which is actually just running those same composer commands. Whichever you prefer. So sometimes this does take a little while. Let's see, Redactor is installed now. Let's go ahead and let's look for AWS. I'm just going to type in AWS and see what happens. But we're looking for AWS S3. And the reason we're looking for S3 is we're going to want to connect to our S3 bucket. So that's just where media and stuff would go. There is other ways that you can if you have a different repo that you use for images or a CDN or something like that, you wouldn't necessarily do it this way, but you can. So I like this one because it is supported by Pixel and Tonic. Pixel and Tonic are the makers of Craft. So that's Brandon Kelly and his team. So let's just go ahead and install that. And all right, so that's installed. So we can see that here. It's installed. Go into the plugins on the settings. Now what we're going to do is we are going to create a section, and the section is going to be a single. So there's different types of sections available. There's singles, channels, and structures. So structures, well, first of all, singles would basically be single pages. So if you have, let's say your home page, that's really going to be a single page. Everything else after that is going to be a little bit different, right? So there's channels, which would be for things like, it could be recipes, it could be a news, or a blog. It could be things like that. So that's what a channel is. And then there's a structure, which structures, they're similar to channels, but they differ a little bit in how they are put together. So I'll explain a little bit more of that later on when we go to actually do a structure. So right now, let's just create a single, and let's just have this be our home page. And then the template, let's just have index.twig. That's fine. And I'll show you guys where this guy is at right here. So the template files are all in your templates in the root directory. It's under templates, and it's going to be this guy right here. So if we go ahead and we change this, so let's just go ahead and do that now. I'm just going to say craft demo. Let's save it, and now I'm going to hit save here. Oh wait, forgot to give it a name. I'm just going to say home. Handle is going to be home. Usually the handles, whatever you punch in for the name, it's going to drop down to handle as well. So let's go ahead. This is a template. All right, so here we go. Now we're not actually going to use this. We're going to lay it out a little bit differently. So let's just go back to our page here, and we can see that, well, it's blank, but let me just put an H1 in there or something. All right, so we're ready and rolling here. We wanted to put a little bit different structure in here, and we wanted to start including, different entries, things like that. So, obviously the home page you would want to have be a single. But what if you wanted to, customize things a little bit and add different blocks and such? So what you'd want to do is you would want to create a different index file. So the index file is basically this is this is going to be the page that gets hit on the main URL, which is the reason why that we see that H1 heading right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go inside of our templates. I'm going to create a new file. Let's just call it layout.html. So this is where basically everything in here is going to be the same. So let's just go ahead and copy this stuff. And this is where everything is going to be pulling through from, our layout HTML file. So there's going to be a reason for that. So now let's go ahead and start making stuff. So we don't need this file anymore. So let's just go ahead and let's just delete it. Actually, let's do something a little different. Let's not delete it. Let's do this instead. So what I want to do is basically have a place where this code can pull through from. So I don't want it structured like this. So what I want to do is extend this guy. So we're going to extend this file. So in my twig file, let's go ahead and get started here. Let's just say extends. And I'm going to say underscore layout HTML. Now what that's going to do, I can go back and I can hit refresh. It's going to be serving the same thing. It's because we're extending the layout file. So the layout file is going to be the main the main entry point, basically. So inside of here, we're going to start writing out, this is where the content goes. So we're literally going to write block, you know, I usually do content. You can do anything you want just as long as it matches up, and if you have duplicates, it needs to be different. So if I had another block, you know, I could say block footer. I could say that anywhere else in the code, and as long as I say, you know, block footer, it's fine. You just can't say block content again. So I can add in, you know, something here. I could say, you know, block content, and then, you know, have something, right? So let's go back to this guy. And this is what I want to do. And this is where it's going to get a little bit interesting, which you're going to see how structures really work. So, and this isn't just for the home page. This is really for any page, or any set of structures, any channels, things like that. So I'm going to include, and I haven't made the file yet, but I'm going to include, I like to just call it pages, and then I'm going to say slash, and then underscore, because I want them, these are going to be hidden. So it's basically going to be similar to how like a dot file is. It's going to be underscore, and then the file, because that's how I'm going to name them. They're going to be hidden from the web server. So it's not going to be accessible. So I'm going to say entry, and I'm going to say type, and I am going to do, that's a one parameter, or I'm just going to default out to whatever the default page is, or whatever the default is. So this is actually an array, so I need to wrap that into square bracket. There we go. So there's going to be a default, and then there's going to be a pages, and then we're going to give it some entry type, and you're going to see what those entry types are in a little bit. So I got the end block. Yep, things look good. Now we should probably get an error. Yeah, so that's because we haven't created this yet. So let's just go ahead and let's start creating that. So we can do, you know, different types of well, we can do different types. So I said that we're going to have pages. So let's create a folder in templates. Let's call it I can't stand when it does it. Pages. And then I'm going to have one called home, underscore home, and then underscore default. So underscore home, and let's just call that twig. This is going to be twig files. And then underscore default dot twig. So I didn't explain exactly what twig is. Twig is essentially a templating tool. It's how we get front end. It's used for the front end, so we can create different components, you know, twig components for everything. We can structure it pretty granular. I'll show you guys a little bit later how to do that. There is one thing that I wanted to point out. We don't actually need this underscore home twig file. So, you know, the way we wrote it is fine, but I'm just going to delete it because it's really not relevant. So what we're going to have is we're going to use matrix block for right now. This is going to use matrix block for making all the template files come together. So what I mean is, like, you know, you have different sections on a page where one image is on the left side, text on the right side, you know, things like that. So that's where we're going to define in our matrix block fields. That's where we define that, and we're going to utilize it. So how we do that is we're going to essentially end up looping through those specific fields. So for right now, let's just keep it how it is. Now, since I deleted home and I actually added default, it should go back to the page. See, there you go. And it's in there twice because I have this guy right here. So now we can just do that, refresh. Now it's a blank page because you see we're just pulling in default. And what's that? You know, there's just nothing there, right? All right. So let's go ahead and get started making our fields. So to make a field, you go to Setting, and then Fields. And we're going to create a new field. And I'm going to create a new field. Actually, I'm going to create a group first. And I'm going to say Builder, because these are going to be the builders. Actually, let's go ahead and create another new group called Images. New group Light Switches. New group Text. All right. So let's create a new field under Builder, and let's call this the Page Builder. And this is, whoops, this is going to be a matrix block. And here's where you define your block types. So here we can say something like image or text with image. So we can just, you know, we can define an image, you know, what type. It's going to be an asset. Now I don't have any sources yet, so really we should be setting that up. But let's just go ahead and just, you know, create, let's actually get rid of this one because it's not going to, I don't think it's going to work. Let's just say text. I'm going to say something like heading or something, so that's fine. So we can have it be plain text. Here's a redactor. We could do that as well, and that's fine. Choose a config file for a redactor. There is two. There's default and there's simple. Default is fine. No transform for the image. And let's just go ahead and keep these unchecked for right now. So let's go ahead and save. Going to see how this works here in a second. So let's put this together. Let's say we're going to write a for loop. So we're going to say for. We're going to say block in. Now we're going to say entry dot builder. Actually, I need to say page builder. That's what the handle is right here. So we're going to say page builder. Let's say all. And then here we're going to include those blocks. So let's just write an include. Include. Now we haven't actually defined where this is going yet, but I'm just going to put it under blocks. So let's do blocks, the little tilde right here. So we want to say block type dot handle, and I'm going to add in some extras right here. So I want to get the loop. I want to get, you know, the actual block. So what I'm going to do is pass an object. So I'm going to say block, and we can call this out in the code in our actual, I'm going to say component template. So let's say block is block because we're passing this guy in right here. That's what we're doing. It's probably going to be confusing because what's being passed through is to the component template file is this right here, this little variable, but what's being passed is this. So we're on the template file, we're going to use this, but we're passing this guy. So let's add in another. I'm going to say block index, and I'm going to say loop dot index. Now, if you don't know what these are, I suggest you go to the Twig, the Symfony Twig documents and read about this, because this is essentially, you know, this is a really good tip right here. It's using this type of structure is awesome. Now let's say only. So let's go ahead. We're going to put all of our matrix blocks, which were these guys right here. So our block is technically called text with image. So let's go ahead and make a new folder called blocks. And let's make a new file inside that called text with image, using the right camel casing there. It's a twig file. So now what we can really do is we can start writing our HTML for this, because this is the actual template file. So I don't have any right now. I don't have any CSS frameworks pulled in. I want to use Tailwind for this little project, but for right now, let's just output something. So to do that, we're just going to do double brackets, double curlies rather, and then we're going to say block. And then what is the field name called? We're going to say heading, block heading. So we're grabbing that and we're going to be passing it through. So remember how I said we're going to be passing block? Well, there it is right there. That's it. It's this guy. This is the data we're going to be passing to it, and this is what we need to call in our template file. So now let's go ahead, let's save. Now let's actually create, let's hook it all together. So let's go back to our sections, into our home page. Entry types, do we need to do anything with that? No, we don't. Actually, we do. Let's do this. So this is what we do. We go here, and let's just drag on our page builder. And now if you remember correctly, everything that is going to be associated with the home, which is what this is, home pulls in default, because I wanted to use the same page builder on all of my pages. A little bit later, we're going to be using the Neo blocks, which is a little bit different, but it's very useful. Now there is one disadvantage in doing that, and that is it's a plugin that isn't supported by Craft, so I'm not real sure how comfortable people feel using a plugin that is developed by a third party. It's an awesome tool, but it's just not supported by Craft, so just keep that in mind. All right, so let's go ahead and save this. So now if we go to a page, so let's go ahead and create an entry, or just go to the front end and try to add stuff. So here we have our page builder pulled through. So in here we see text with image. Right now it just has text. So let's just go ahead and I'm going to say this is a heading. And actually I should have probably selected the format first. So let's just do that. Call it an H2. Let's save it. You can preview it, which is really cool. No, there you go. And that wraps it up. That's how you create entries. It's also how you create the matrix blocks. So you create different matrix block types. And we can get as granular as you want. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. If you want to stay up to date on various web development topics, please hit that like, subscribe, and notification bell. See you on the next one.